Hello and welcome to the How Do You View You podcast with your host, Griffinstein. Today we have a special guest, Big Doug, the Uzikee documentary. I never went and I never knew it, and I'm shame on me because that's the Richmond Museum down there on Nevin.
That's the Richmond Museum.
And you did a, what do we call it, that 5-minute?
That was part of the community history video series that we did for the Richmond Museum.
Richmond Museum. So just introduce yourself to the people and tell them what you're doing and who you are and your uniqueness to Richmond.
My name is Doug Harris, and I'm a documentary filmmaker. I grew up in Berkeley, California, but I worked for many years here in Richmond, California, and actually started my documentary production career here in Richmond with a series of documentaries about the rich history of North Richmond.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Did you showed a little bit of that with the Panthers, and was that or is that something else?
That was another part of the video series for the museum. Yeah, we did a 5-part documentary style video series of different aspects of Richmond's history.
Wow.
And so, it dated all the way back to when California was part of Mexico. So we started there in what life was like here in this area, the Richmond, San Pablo area. And then we moved to the Spanish flu area, which was in 1918. And that was the one I showed you when we first met.
And the parallels were stupid. It was like exactly, we was all walking around with masks. They was trying to point their finger at people. It was the same.
They were locking people up, putting people in jail that didn't have masks on.
Wow.
And so from there we go to the shipyards and kind of covered some of that history. And the thing that I liked about that history was the fact that Kaiser Health industry started right here in Richmond, Kaiser Hospital.
I didn't know that.
And so we bring that out in that piece. And then from there, we go to the Black Panthers here in Richmond. And a lot of people don't know it, but the Black Panthers' first serious action dealing with police brutality took place in North Richmond. And it caused a big stir with riots and everything like that. And that's a part of history that always gets overlooked. And we did one of the videos about that history. And then we ended with the Starlight Studios, which was here in Richmond, and it was one of the biggest recording studios for artists back in the 80s and 90s, and it's most noted for the place where Tupac Shakur did his first recordings. A lot of great groups and other artists actually, did their recordings here in Richmond, right here on this street on Macdonald Avenue.
Macdonald Avenue.
Yeah, and so it was a really nice project, and then a lot of people were going to learn a lot about Richmond, different time periods of unknown history for Richmond. And that's kind of one of the things that I do is my whole interest in documentary filmmaking is doing history.
The history.
Yeah, chronicling and preserving history, unknown history.
That's where you met Love out there at the front desk.
Yes.
Yeah, she's a filmmaker. So I talked to her about you, and we was talking about the series The Rich, where you already did the history part of it. So then we would do like drama of the first dude from down south. Where they come from? Alabama and New Orleans and everything. I guess everybody came from everywhere to work on these shipyards.
Well, they primarily came from Texas, Louisiana, and Arkansas.
Gotcha.
Those were like the three main states where the majority of people migrated here, not only to Richmond, but also to Oakland, San Francisco. I always joke that the cities where, our people migrated here from, when they got here, the city somehow always had a direction attached to where we had to live.
Where we would be.
Where we live. North Richmond, East Oakland, West Oakland, South Berkeley, East Palo Alto, things like that. And I just find that interesting. But that's our history that, one of the things I try to do is share the history to our young people in particular, because I think it's so important that young people know about their history and the things that happened and the mistakes people made so that they won't repeat them. And if you don't know about the history of different things that happen, you're just going to repeat it, and it's going to go around and around in circles. And so,
So how did you start? Like, what, did your grandfather give you a camera, or did you wake up one day and say, I need to document the world? What sparked that?
Well, I remember always wanting to borrow people's camera just to film just little family vacations and things like that. And back in the 80s, I had the 80s and early 90s, I had some kind of way where I'd always get my hands on somebody's camera for weeks at a time, until they needed it. And I would just start filming a lot of different stuff. And I was running a program in Berkeley, and we had some surplus money in our budget, and people familiar with the nonprofit sector is that when you granted money, if you don't use it, you lose it. So we had some surplus funds in our budget, and I put a request in to buy a Hi8 camera.
Hi8. Yeah. Oh wait, what was this? This was
back in the 90s.
Oh, okay.
So we got it was about 93.
Oh, okay.
We got a Hi8 camera, and one of the things that we did was we recorded all of our program activities and all of our events in documentary type style. And then we hooked up with the local cable access station that was just starting off in Berkeley. It was called BTV. And so some of the staff members of our organization, along with some of our youth participants, we all took part in the training at Berkeley Community Media, and we got certified to use their equipment. And so we had the content, we just needed the studio and the airwaves, access to the airwaves to start broadcasting, different activities that we were doing in the community through our program, which was Athletes United for Peace. And so we had a lot of fun with that, and that just evolved into going back to graduate school and learning the real stuff, the digital, the whole paradigm shift when video went from analog video to digital video.
Yeah.
And me and Raven, we were chopping it up before the show and talking about that, and then he has a really good grip on the whole shift of how we went from analog to digital. Really great brother and great conversation I had with your co-producer.
Yeah, it was. When you said that, I thought of the Super 8, the film, and all of these. Because my auntie, she passed away, but she gave me this camera that was super big with this square front. I was like, this is a news camera. And how did you get this? And she was like, I don't know how to put the power to it, because it wasn't a battery thing. I think they had battery packs or plugs. Mm-hmm. I didn't know what to do with it. Now I can't find it, because now I really wanted it, because I just wanted to see. I don't know where I'm gonna get a VHS tape from, or a Super 8. I think they were like cassettes, huh? Were they cassettes?
Yeah, they were cassette tapes. Yeah.
Why did you choose Richmond so are your roots in Berkeley, or are you just...
I grew up in Berkeley in the 1960s and 70s.
Okay.
And when I got out of college, I came to Richmond, and I worked for the city of Richmond for 10 years with the Human Services Department in Parks and Recreation.
Okay.
And so my background here in Richmond is that I worked at Parchester Village, Parchester Community Center. I ran the center there. I ran the center at Shields Reed in North Richmond. Oh. And I also ran the center over at East Shore, which they call Booker
Crescent
T.
Park.
Anderson now.
Oh, yeah.
And so I've been all over the city of Richmond, in my work with the city. And so I'm kind of like an adopted member of the city of Richmond.
For sure.
My old lady Angela lives here in Richmond, so I really have good, strong roots here in Richmond. Yeah, I love Richmond.
I think a lot of people love Richmond. They just they either don't know it or they want a certain aspect out of it. Richmond is the perfect place. I mean, you can get anywhere within 2 hours, and if you can't get there within 2 hours, you don't really need to be there. I mean, it's other places here that you can deal with. I just like it, and I wanted to make sure we acknowledge CoBiz. We are at CoBiz because that's where actually you had the premiere of your uncle's film, your film featuring your uncle, and the outreach was crazy. The people loved it. I
thought it was amazing that we watched a documentary in a limited audience, because of the COVID.
Yeah.
But here at CoBiz, they arranged for me to come in and bring the documentary to have a special preview before we had the virtual premiere. And we had a limited, with about 10, 12 people that came. Yeah. And it was really cool because our Q&A in our post screening discussion might have been longer than the actual film because of the fact that everybody was so stirred up after watching the documentary. And
I seen your partner was there recording. So that when this becomes a DVD, that Q&A it's going to be just as watchable as the film, because if he got it, because one lady went deep, the lady that owns stuff in North Richmond, I can't remember her name. Annie.
Yeah,
she went deep, and she said, I was born in this house. They can't move me out of this house. It was a powerful thing. So hopefully he got all that footage.
One of the things, another thing that I really liked about that event that we had here at COVID was that the CEO here, Wesley, wanted to meet with me the next day, and we got together and met, and he laid out what he'd like to see happen with that documentary, and man, it was phenomenal. And I had never heard of or seen anything like he mentioned. What Wesley wants to work with me. What we're going to work on doing is making that documentary an interactive presentation where there'll be QR codes on the screen when you're looking at the documentary, and then if you hit one of the codes, it'll take you deeper into an area of the documentary to give you more information
of what you asked for,
of what you like. Say, for instance, the segment of the film when they're talking about the slavery with the U.S. Park Service, the brother that was from the Park Service. There'll be a code on the screen, and you'll tap that code, and it'll take you to the National Park Service Underground Railroad project. The stuff that he was talking about, it'll take you right there. Straight to it. So you can really get the feel for what they're talking about and go dig deeper into. And so you saw the documentary, and so look at all the different other aspects that you could do that type of interactivity with.
Parts,
and I'm really looking forward to it because like I told Wesley, I had never seen that done with a documentary. And
when you think about it, they all should be done that way, because everything has a different thing. Because even me personally, when you was talking about in the film, they were talking about the demographic of Washington D.C. Mm-hmm. I would have liked to know what is that demographic and saw a pie chart. So if I'd have clicked that, it'd have took me to the DMV whatchamacallit, and I'd be like, oh, man, there's people leaving. But some of these people are coming back. So I see what you're saying. That is a very interactive.
It was really creative thinking on Wesley's part, and I'm really looking forward to getting together with him and working on that. Because it's going to be a lot of fun, and it's going to be something new and different, and that's what I like to do.
Because now you're on the innovative edge. Now everybody looking for you to be. Oh, that's the QR code with the extraordinary uncle.
Yeah, and what Wesley said is young people see QR codes and they click on it, see what's happening. Yeah. They know what's going on with it.
People my age don't, because I know I see it and I'll be like, why is these buttons and why are these little dots? And I got to take out my camera to do it. I don't know stuff like that. But that's good. It's
going to make it a better learning experience. Not only are you going to learn information from what you see in the documentary, but you're going to even have access to learn even more about some of the different subject matters. So I'm looking forward to it.
Which means it could be adopted by certain schools. And I think it should be, especially stuff like Making Waves or charter schools where they talk about, building up black people. This is something that, just to let you know, I mean, because, he was a genius. Or he is a genius, I should say. The fact that he did all of the things he did and then just said, well, I'm about to start, sculpting.
Well, we've been talking a lot about this film, and I think that I want to take a moment out to kind of share with the audience what the film was actually about.
Yeah.
My uncle is Uzikee Nelson, and he's a founding engineering professor at the University of District of Columbia in Washington, D.C. And the documentary is his life story. But the part of his life story that we really focus on at the beginning of the film is what brought him to Washington, D.C. And what that was that when Martin Luther King was assassinated in 1968, there were riots all over America. And in the nation's capital, Washington, D.C., they basically burnt down a good portion of the city. And my uncle was called on to come to Washington, D.C. as an engineering professor to teach and help young people, get them properly trained in engineering so that they can be a big part of the rebuilding effort to rebuild Washington, D.C., from the people that lived there.
Yeah.
And they create opportunities at what was then called the Washington Technical Institution, which later turned into the University of the District of Columbia, which is one of the last historically black colleges in the United States. So that's a history right there in and of itself. And while at the University of the District of Columbia, my uncle started taking off with his career as an artist, as a sculptor. And so he has several sculptures, plastered all around Washington, D.C. And what's unique about his whole situation was, for people that have been to Washington, D.C., there's no Afrocentric sculptures anywhere to be found in Washington, D.C. And so my uncle figured out this way where he can adopt these little small parks in Washington, D.C. And once he adopted them, he would control them, and so that they would be places where he could erect his sculptures. And these are sculptures like 15, 17 feet. They're really huge, gigantic sculptures. And then they're part of the actual communities that where they're displayed at. And so it was a real special type of story because, as you well know, Don, the story has so many different layers of his life. And we're just mentioning a few, but this was my first art film that I ever produced. And so, it was a challenge because my son and I, we had to drive cross country to film this documentary, but I think it turned out really well, and a lot of people really enjoyed it.
I think they did enjoy it. I enjoyed it. The thing that kind of not bothered me, but put me in a different kind of a mind frame was the fact that he did all of these things from '69 till recently. But now the white people are coming in, or another group is coming in, and then they're going to wonder. Like the dude said in the thing, he said, why? There is no black people here. Why is all of these African? It's just a moment in time where they're going to snatch all those down. Just like y'all went into the whole thing about, because there are no more rebels in Atlanta, so they getting rid of all of the General Lee stuff.
That interview took place before they started taking down sculptures all over the South and all over the country. Yeah, that interview was done before that whole wave hit here in America, where they started taking down sculpture. Yeah. And so that was kind of an interesting thing for us to have did that interview, and for him to have made that comment about what would it be like in Washington D.C. heading into the future with gentrification and a whole new population of people moving to Washington D.C. and the city would have all of these African, all these black names, and they don't really have any black sculptures other than with the exception of my uncles. And so what would it be like, in a new in a new environment?
Yeah, it won't fit the decor. They'll get rid of it. I mean, it ain't no doubt in my mind that they'll just simply get rid of it.
Don't do it. Don't do it. Don't do it. Dark Network.
Gentrification is a serious problem all over the country. It's happening here in Richmond. Yeah. And one of the things that I try to encourage young people in particular is that, when family generational wealth is passed down to them, don't jump up and sell it and buy a Benz and, 6 pairs of Jordans or, whatever people do. But you have to stop and understand that owning property is probably the biggest and most important asset one could have. Yeah. And that if there by any means that you can hold on to some property versus selling it, don't complain about, you being gentrified. If you had property and you sold it, how can you claim that you was gentrified? Because you can't come back because you've been outpriced out of the place. You can always, if you don't choose to live in the property, you can always rent it out to somebody who wants to live there. But until we really get a clear understanding about how important property ownership it is, we're gonna continue to struggle as a people. And I think that programs and people that really put that message out there are important voices and that everyone needs to hear. In particular, our young black brothers and sisters. Yeah. Because I don't think enough people are really, talking about that to our young people. Not the way they should.
Not the way. I was just about to say. They'll say, "Man, these people kicking y'all out. What y'all gonna do? What do you want us to do? We don't have any. What are you telling us? They don't. You would give them the information without a plan."
But it's hard. It's hard because, in today's society, it's hard enough to have a job, let alone a job that can pay to where you can afford rent at $2,000 a month for what? One in bedroom?
One in one, yeah.
2 bedrooms. I don't know if you can find a 2-bedroom apartment in the Bay Area for under $2,000. Do you know where one is at? I don't.
Not offhand, no.
Yeah, and so, it may come a time when young people might have to pull together, work with some of your friends on buying some property. I encourage people to get married and team up, husband and wife. But that seems like that's antiquated thinking in today's society.
Yeah.
But I know me and my wife, that was our goal when we got married. We put our strategy together and said that we don't want to be living in these apartments and paying people's rent. And so we were living in Oakland at the time, and we saved money up for like 3 or 4 years, enough to put a down payment on our first house that we bought here in San Pablo, which is right next to Richmond. And from then on, I've been a property owner
Since then,
and we talking back in 1989, 1990.
Oh yeah, because it's not just young people that don't know. It's people now my age. I'm 47. They perpetual renters and don't know anything and don't think they can get. Hope is crazy, and the belief that you can do something. If you don't have the belief that you can walk across the street, you won't walk across the street. It don't even matter how menial the task. If you don't believe and see other people doing it, it won't happen. So how do you think that we can start getting people to even believe that they can do it?
Well, owning property isn't for everybody. I mean, some people, but when you really look at it, like, okay, if you're paying $2,000 a month for rent, that $2,000 a month that you're paying for rent, you could be owning some property. But it takes sacrifice.
Yes.
Financial sacrifices. That may take 2, 3, 4, maybe even 5 years to save up enough money to put a down payment on a home. But once you clear that hurdle, then you're able to pay probably less than you would be paying in rent for a mortgage.
Yes.
Of something that you can own and that you could pass down to your kids.
And possibly get paid on yourself if you rent it out, So
yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And so I think that, some people choose not to be homeowners, but those that do and that want to, there are a lot of resources and help out there that where people just can mentor you and guide you through the process. Right, it's not really a difficult process. The only thing difficult, if you want to say this is difficult, is making those tough sacrifices financially to save up the money that's needed. Yeah. And then also, to make sure that you have your credit together.
That's
because, mistakes that we make in life come back to bite us in the tail when it comes to making smart financial decisions on what you're doing with your money. And
some of that can preclude you from doing it, where it's no way you could do it because you still owe taxes.
Not can, it will.
Yeah,
it will.
Yeah.
But it's just all part of growing up and being responsible,
And that's the problem, though.
And what you want to do in life. Well, I think the problem is that the mainstream media has programmed a lot of our young people and adults into this negative type of mind frame, to where there's a limit of what you can do. And, all you have to do is just cut on the TV and see. They'll show you all these different flashy images and clothes and cars and all these different things. But then on the other hand, they're not really doing anything to promote the type of lifestyles that you need to live that you can achieve that. And there's, I don't know, it's just like a promotion of antisocial behavior
exactly
that I see, and maybe I'm looking at the wrong thing.
No.
That's what I'm seeing.
Well, we're looking at the same TV, though.
That's what I'm seeing, and I chose to be a media producer and a documentary filmmaker is for me to have an opportunity to produce and create meaningful content, meaningful film.
Yeah.
And because I don't see enough of that when I'm looking at the mainstream media.
Gotcha.
And I just want to be someone that's doing something to, give people a different look about different topics and subjects or people or events or things that can maybe motivate and inspire them to be the best that they can be in life.
Yeah, I like it. That's why we do the podcast. That's why we do all of this, just promoting as healthy conversations as we can. Oh, I saw you rode in on a bike today. What kind of bike is that?
Oh, I ride a BMW 1150 RT.
Okay. How long you been riding that?
Well, that bike I got maybe about a year.
Okay.
It's coming up on a year, but before that I was riding on a Kawasaki 1100. Kawasaki 1100. I like to ride motorcycles.
How long you been riding?
As long as it's not raining.
Yeah, I
don't ride in the rain.
You been riding 10 years, 5 years, 10?
Probably about 11.
11 years?
Probably 11 or 12, something like that. Yeah.
I bought a bike and then did everything to get the license and everything, took the class and everything, rode it, got on the freeway one time and said, this shit is ridiculous. That shit was moving so fast. I was going 60. Mm-hmm. But the way that cement was, I said, I can't die like this. So I went, drive home, parked it, ain't moved it since. So I always wanted to, ride. And I was supposed to ride with my brother, but he decided that he wasn't going to ride anymore. He's doing something else. So, I
remember I went down on my motorcycle one time.
Out here?
Yeah, right up on Highway 80 up. This lady was in front of me, right? And she slammed on the brakes for no reason at all, right? And I locked up, right? And instead of me making a quick, sharp left-hand turn, I just tried to spin it out and I just went down, right? And had I did jump over to the left, there was a highway patrol car coming right there and he would have smacked me, right? And so he saw everything that happened. The highway patrolman saw everything that happened, so he blocked the freeway. Then he came over and made sure that I was able to get up and get the bike up and get off to the side of the road. And he said, you did the right thing in terms of just riding it out instead of jumping over to the other lane because he would have killed me.
Killed you. Yeah. Maybe that's what she saw. She saw the lights and thought he was after her, and then he stopped.
But there wasn't no lights on. He wasn't.
So she just stopped.
She stopped for no reason at all. But those things happen. But one of the things that I really picked up from that one incident when I went down on my bike on the freeway was that I'm never gonna be too close to anybody.
Ever.
I'm gonna keep my distance. You can get mad at me because I don't drive my motorcycle fast or anything. I just cruise and just keep a good, safe distance and really, look to see what kind of clearance I have on each side when I'm riding. I'm a really safe rider.
Yeah.
I ride I tell people, I joke, I say I ride like old Pawpaw.
Yeah, I know.
I'm just cruising.
Yeah.
I'm not trying to be flying up and down the freeway or splitting lanes.
Yeah, that's my brother.
Oh, your brother rides a bike?
Yeah, that's what he used to. I mean, it was
his lanes. He'd like to let's. I will purposely not get on my motorcycle until 9:30, 10 o'clock at night.
I know that
after traffic, just because I don't want to split lanes. I will hang around and do something else instead of going out
all the way
in rush hour traffic when you have to split lanes. Because when you're riding on a motorcycle, you got to keep it moving. You can't just be sitting in traffic.
Something about overheat.
They'll overheat.
Because I never knew that until I took that bike course. I never knew why they legally they can't. Yeah. Even the liquid cool ones, they still have to.
You got to keep it moving.
Yeah. That's cool.
I like riding at nighttime. The later, the better, because there's no cars on the road.
Yeah.
I
always meant to get up early and go, but I just never wake up on time, so I just don't.
Living around here in the Bay Area, you get up early, and there's even more traffic in the morning.
These people coming from all over.
So, what do you think about this whole thing with the pandemic?
Shit. I mean, I work from home now. That's really the only thing, and I got to wear this mask
when you're out in public.
When I'm out in public, yeah. Other than that,
I caught you off guard with that one.
Well, no, because I want to answer truthfully, but I feel like it's gonna sound funny. But truthfully, I don't go out the house. I prefer to be in the house. I'm creating, I'm editing, I'm doing all these things. So this is regular life for me. I don't go out. So it's like I'm not missing restaurants. I don't go to the movies. I vowed off movies 15, 20 years. I said that's a jip. That's what? Why would I pay for that? That experience isn't even fun to me. So I'm not really missing. And getting together with family, they still doing that. it's people still getting together and doing stuff. We still go fishing, and we may have separation, we may not. But I'm not really, I'm not really a social person. That's why I did this podcast, because I don't know how to talk to people in general. Mm. If we have a good connection, I can talk to you because we respect each other. Right. But me just walking up to a stranger and saying, "Hey, man, I was gassy early this morning." It's like, nigga, I don't give a shit. So, it's stuff like that. But nah, this pandemic done. You know what I didn't like? I just didn't like it showed people at their worst. Like 17 bags of tissue.
Oh,
fuck, you need this much tissue.
Oh yeah, at the early stages of it. Oh, that was horrible.
That hoarding stuff is a base characteristic, and it really irritated me. And I didn't even, I ain't too much. This is full disclosure. I don't even use toilet tissue because I got asteroids. So he told me, he said, "Griff, do not use. You can't do it. It'll destroy you from the inside out." So I don't even use toilet tissue. So it wasn't even that kind of a thing. I use wipes. So it's, I'm just saying it didn't even hurt me. It just like, this is what we are. And it was all type of stuff. It was water. I don't know. But I mean, did it change the way you move? I mean, I know it obviously, but did it really change the way you moved in the...
What you just expressed to me is similar to my life, because as a filmmaker and a producer, and the big part of what I do is in the editing, in the editing studio, which I have at my house. But the pandemic, I'm kind of like a hermit, like I'll go out, maybe shoot some interviews or film some different stuff, and then I come back home and I'm at home editing, and I'm not really missing a lot anyway. Just like you said, I could kind of relate to what you said, but one of the things that's been happening with the pandemic has forced me to really take an opportunity to work on some different stuff that that I kind of had shelved, thinking more creatively, doing a lot of writing.
That's a good thing.
It's given me an opportunity to do a lot of writing, and so it's been a negative for everybody across the board, but I'm trying to turn it into my own positive by taking the time, not being out as much, to focus on some things that I really want to do. And the majority of the stuff that I do, it all evolves around writing. Yeah. So.
All right. Well, that's a segue. So what's up next for Doug? What's up? What's for Big Doug? What's the next project?
I got this project that I conceptualized not long ago, while working on the video series, the community history series for the Richmond Museum, mixed in with having this wonderful introduction to CoBiz, that I want to do a documentary film about Macdonald Avenue here in Richmond. And, I've been doing a lot of documentary work on different aspects of the city, and did a 4-part series on North Richmond. And it's just very interesting about the dynamics and the history and the current situation involving Macdonald Avenue as the main thoroughfare here in Richmond. And all the different businesses that once were here, going way back. How did Macdonald? What is Macdonald? Who was Macdonald?
Yeah.
And this street has a rich history, because from a lot of the archival footage that I worked with in different projects, that this street was popping back in the day. Yes. It was like so busy. There were movie theaters, department stores, a jewelry store. I mean, Macdonald Avenue was the joint. People came from all over to do their shopping here at Macdonald. And then this is a documentary where you could go into the origin of Hilltop Mall, with when the malls came into society, and when the malls came into remote areas, that downtown streets were kind of like shut down. They
Yeah.
became dormant, and all these malls started springing up. And if you look at the whole evolution of all of this, right, the malls are shutting down now.
Yes, they are.
And so what's going to happen to these main thoroughfares in the communities with the advent of these superpowers? I call Amazon a superpower. And the superpower just smashes all local businesses. And what are these local businesses? What's going to happen to all this property and all these businesses, you know, as more and more of them are shutting down due to the pandemic? What's going to happen to these storefronts along Macdonald Avenue? And I think that would be a real interesting documentary where if you could take a look at one street, and you know, Richmond is my spot, man. I got love for Richmond. I got to keep Richmond in the mix. But this documentary about Macdonald Avenue takes you through the beginning all the way to the current. And when you look at a film like this, it could connect young people because they know Macdonald because they travel on Macdonald. But it gives them an idea about the history of Macdonald Avenue and what it once was to what it is now, and then even look further into what is it going to become?
What could it be? What could we make it?
What is it going to become?
Young people,
What are the opportunities for young people maybe to open up a business in one of these vacant storefronts and try to get something rolling? You know, entrepreneurial ventures that are out there, similar to this entrepreneurial venture that we're at right now, COVID. You know, it's a prime example. And you know, the reason why this film could really be special is because of the fact that you could take a Macdonald Avenue in any city USA.
Yes.
And it would be the same story. You know, it would be, if not the same exact story, but it'll be a similar story to what's going on. And I think those are the type of films, documentary films, that are attractive when you can combine, you know, history along with the current. When you can tie it all in together, it gives a better connection to viewers like that. And it's going to be an exciting project that I'm working on developing now that I'm down in lockdown with COVID. I'm working to put this together. And I know it's going to happen because everything I do in Richmond is popping and happening.
Yeah, for sure. Well, you know, once you start shooting, let me know. I can do whatever you need me to do. I can edit, and we can get some stills, whatever you needed me to do, just let me know. It's all gravy. All gravy. You got a crew. You got a crew. Me and Raven, we'll be at the crew. So, that's good. I'm glad to hear that.
Well, you know, one of the things that I'm looking at for this project is for it to be a continuation of the Digital Technology Academy, and that's the program that I started back in 1999 in North Richmond. And it's a program where we took a group of 7 to 10 teenagers from the community, and we took them through a comprehensive 10-week training on all aspects of production for documentary film production. And this was sponsored by Contra Costa County, funded and sponsored by the county. And so these kids, it was a summer media arts training program for the kids in the summertime, right? And usually summer jobs are picking up papers in the park or being a counselor for the youth camp or filing papers in somebody's office, you know, these type of jobs, where the job for these kids was to go to the training, and once they all completed the training, then they would start working on the actual film. So it was actually a job experience for them instead of, you know, them being volunteering to do it and coming and going when they wanted to. See, young people, they'll come and go on you, but if it's a money, if they on the clock for the project, they gonna be there.
Yeah, because they want the money.
Well, it's their job.
Yeah, it's their job.
You know, we have to let kids go and pick up new ones, but we did that program for like 12 years or so.
Oh, shit.
Yeah,
that's
maybe
cool.
longer.
That's good.
Because not only did we do it in North Richmond, but we also did it in Bay Point, which used to be called West Pittsburgh.
Yeah.
So, you know, that's kind of like my background is training young people and getting them, geared up for careers in media or filmmaking, whatever one. But just giving them something positive to do, because you probably know as well as I do, these young people, they don't have programs for them anymore.
And the few that they do, they flood them, and then it's only a certain amount of people that can get it. So yeah, they don't have enough resources.
Yeah, but they have a lot of young kids in high school here in the West County district that are interested in media production. And the only thing I try to do is be, a mentor, a coach for them, to teach them, what I know. Yeah. And bring them along with anybody.
But that's huge,
else.
Though. I mean, the fact that you're willing to do it is bigger than, you're not just sitting here saying, well, y'all youngsters ain't doing nothing. You're like, well, look, fuck with me, and I can help you learn this, and this. Mm-hmm. It's just how many people going to avail themselves of these services. And that's what COVID is.
I never had an idea that I would ever be involved with anything like that. It was just something, an opportunity that was presented to me. And I put the program together, and it took off. I mean, I never would have imagined that I would have a crew of teenagers, and that we would be doing documentaries that would be winning awards and getting recognized by the Congress, the government. Wow. I mean, it's been incredible. And I see this Macdonald Avenue project to be a continuation. And we even talked about that when we first met, about maybe doing the training, and what better place to do training for a project like that than right here on Macdonald Avenue.
In a place that's
got everything hooked up. Yep. Yeah. So, and like we discussed, that's what my vision is on the next project. I got a couple of other things that I'm actually working on right now, but that's a project that I'm developing right now. I'm developing that.
That's cool. Final thought you want to give to the people, or something that you need people to know about either your work, or just a word of wisdom to help them get through this year?
First of all, I want to thank you, for turning me on to COVID.
Oh yeah, no problem.
Because I had no idea of what this place was. It was raining. We just got through with the shoot, and I'm trying to show you the materials. Look at it, and you say, "Well, come on, let's go run over here." And I'm like, "Okay, whatever." I thought we was gonna go sit in the car.
Oh, in my car.
No, you said let's go over to COVID. COVID what's COVID?
Yeah.
And then we came in here, and I was like, "Oh my God." This place is off the chain.
And was Wesley here that day?
Wesley was here because Wesley took us on a tour.
That's why I said, let me take you on a tour.
You introduced me to Wesley.
Yeah. That's what
Yeah, so I guess in closing, I'm just trying to keep things moving and create opportunities to keep doing what I do in terms of, making documentaries. It's my passion, it's my calling.
Wow.
And I'm just happy to do it. For anybody that's watching, they could look me up, do a Google search, and you can see all kind of different stuff. And then my website is DougHarrisMedia.com. Yeah, DougHarrisMedia.com is my website, and a lot of stuff on there.
You could just, if you search on YouTube, that all the stuff will pop up. What will pop up if what's public on there?
Everything. Kind of stuff.
Okay. Yeah. So search Doug
on YouTube. Yeah,
on YouTube. Okay.
Doug Harris. Yeah.
Doug Harris on YouTube, and you'll see is you. Why I keep saying this wrong?
Oh, Uzikee. They can watch the whole Uzikee film.
Okay, Uzikee. Yeah. So go see Uzikee.
The film is called
right here.
The film is called Uzikee Washington D.C.'s Ancestral Sculptor. That's the name of the movie. It's a long title.
Type that in. Yeah. So that's good.
It's a must-see documentary.
It is. I agree. I thought we was gonna be showing it every month here. I thought that's what we was.
Uzikee documentary is a YouTube documentary, because the majority of documentaries that I produce are on PBS or NBC Sports or Fox Sports, different commercial networks. But Uzikee, the mainstream, they ain't ready for Uzikee, so that's a YouTube.
That's a YouTube.
But it's a great film.
I think so.
Yeah.
No, I don't think so. I know so. Because I know how it made me feel, so I know that other people will feel the same way. But
you'll learn a lot. They'll learn a lot.
They will learn, especially once it become interactive. I think so too. But I appreciate you for showing up, and this is the How Do You View You show. Anything you need, we at the Dark Network, you need a commercial shot, let us know. We do whatever you need to do. Or we can be the second hand on whatever you need to do.
Oh, yeah, we know we're going to hook up for sure.
Yeah, for
we
sure.
We're going to hook up.
Yeah.
We going to hook up.
This has been How Do You View You with your host, Griffinstein, with the special guest, Big Doug Harris. Check him out. We supporting everybody. Richmond is on the rise. You see him in the street, holla at him, handshake him, and tell him that you seen Uzikee. All right. Base.
It's your girl, Revolutionary Rika. Please tune in the last day of every month for Revolutionary Rika Speaks at 6 p.m. If you miss it on my page on YouTube, Revolutionary Rika Speaks, check it out on the Dark Network, 247.com. I can't wait to see you. Come get this game.
Don't do it. Don't do it. Don't do it. Dark Network.